All right, let's keep the conversation going. The big story is MTN Nigeria announcing its plans for Nigerian markets listing. Of course, we've been talking about since we started the show. MTN Group in South Africa says its Nigeria unit listing will now be via introduction in the first half of 2019, subject to regulatory approvals, and will be followed by a public offer, what we call an IPO, once market conditions are conducive, quote and unquote. So the company says it to simplify its capital structure ahead of the listing by introduction. It's looking to see Nigeria's ownership of the business, MTN Nigeria, to increase from about 20% presently to 35%. That's the MTN story. But first, let's check in with the fixed income market, where a bit of it's been a bit of a bearish bias for bulls and for bills and bonds. The bulls taking a bit of a backseat. Let's talk to the fixed income dealer from FSDH Merchant Bank. Chukwudi is joining us via the FMDQ Exchange Place studio. Good morning. It's good to see you.
Good morning to you too.
Thank you very much. We started on a bullish note. Now we're seeing a bit of a bearish bias for treasuries and bonds. Where is this softening coming from? It's coming persistently, 14, 13, 12. Now we're flirting with 11% on the yield curve.
Well, for the fixed income market, like you said, we had a bullish market earlier from last week up until the beginning of this week. However, that has waned a bit. Especially on the bond side, where we saw some profit taking. However, on the T-bills side, we also experienced a lull in the market. However, this morning I've just gotten information that there has been some heavy demand, especially on the long end. This should be as a fallout from the calendar released by the CBN yesterday, with the drop in volumes to be offered in this second quarter.
Okay, so there was no open market operations even yesterday, which was a Wednesday. But of course, what's the outlook on the matured treasuries repayment for today, and how the regulator will likely finish off the week on Friday, tomorrow?
Okay, for the OMO auction, we had a maturity of 229 billion this morning. CBN has offered about 400 billion on 2 tenors. We expect that to be heavily subscribed, and we expect yields to drop at the auction. However, there has been news that on the long end, yields have dropped significantly from opening levels of 13.1 to about 12.5 now. We expect that trend to continue, especially on the long end of the curve, where we see a huge demand coming up.
Oh, great. So over the coming week, what do we see? Of course, once we step into next week, we'll be looking at some economic data, inflation data, for example, and then we'll be preparing for the March DMO Naira bond auction.
Yeah, as it is going into next week, we expect that demand that we saw last week to come back into the market, and that's the outlook for the week coming up.
Great. So for the market, broadly speaking, what's the outlook from FSDH Merchant Bank?
Well, the outlook is we envisage that this demand will sustain for some time, especially with the reduced volumes offered by the CBN. And with that, some significant demand and drop in yields in the next 1 week. Maybe not as high as we saw in the previous week, but some drop in yields.
Okay, Chukwudi Nwokeke, thank you very much. And we thank you for being on the program today from FSDH Merchant Bank. And that's all the way from FMDQ Exchange Place in downtown Lagos. Let's switch gear to the stock market, where Stock Exchange, where Andy Sako, who is a trader with Capital Care Securities, is joining us to give us the perspectives of a trader into those big numbers, earnings that we spoke about earlier with Temple and Victor Chiazo of FSL Securities. Andy, it's good to have you on the program. Thank you. Welcome to a new year. This is our first time getting together in the new year.
Great pleasure.
Exactly. It's nice to have you.
That's right.
Yes. So politics is still on the street, but elections seem to be over for the market. Earnings is the big story. Which of these earnings are tantalizing, as it were?
Quite an expression, tantalizing might be the catchphrase. However, in weathers like this, you don't quite get tantalized because you get a fusion of so many things. That said, we're being greeted, of course, particularly with the banking numbers. The first to release was Zenith Bank. As we speak, GT results is here, and then we've also seen Stanbic. The numbers have been encouraging, particularly in terms of the yields that these banks or institutions are paying out to investors. It's particularly important when you juxtapose the results against the background of the challenging economy within which these businesses operate. And for them to have been able to hold their heads above waters and ensure that they're still able to deliver on promises to investors, I think that's a good omen, you know, that pervades the market. So there's some level of excitement. Yes, the market has a way of internalizing some of these numbers. Sometimes the measure of effect is not so immediate, but over the long haul, I think what that does is the signal that comes with it, which is the fact that these businesses are continuing. They're showing robust resilience in operations, and going forward, there's so much to look forward to.
But again, well, if there's nothing, if you think none of the earnings is tantalizing, some are a bit sweet and a few others a bit bitter. Could you speak to this both sides of the same coin,
right,
in the numbers that we currently have?
Yeah, you'll need to take a look at those, you know, that you qualified as a little bit bitter, particularly those in the industrial space, which numbers have not been that exciting. And again, that's part of the grain of normal life. Some will do well, even on if you plant seeds on the same farm. Not everyone comes up with, you know, the same kind of yield. So that's exactly what also pervades the space in the, you know, in the stock market. So yes, Zenith did quite well. We saw a little, you know, shaking in the GT numbers, even though in terms of dividend yield, that seems to have been sustained. We've also seen some level of traction coming in the line of Stanbic. So on the whole, I do think that investors will continue to cherry pick amongst the sweet, the bitter, and the less sour.
Okay, our final one, and this is not about the earnings. We just got the news this morning, Andy, that MTN will not be doing an initial public offering as earlier planned, but we're doing a listing by introduction in this first half of the new year 2019. What's your first word? Give us your first word on this news that is just breaking.
You know, for me, it's not so much the complexion of the listing by MTN, but the fact that they are being added to the basket, you know, of stocks listed on the bourse. I don't think it's a matter of how you choose to enter through a door. But the fact that you're inside the building, to me, is more exciting than being outside. For too long, MTN has remained on the outside, and with so many things going around it. But we need the big fish in the room. And whether they enter by introduction or by public offering or whichever other means they choose to come in, I think the excitement for me is the fact that they are coming in at last.
Andy, I like that. I'm sure the market's been looking for this company that's worth trillions of naira, and you folks have waited for so long. Now, I guess is the time. Yeah. Whichever way, whether it crawls, whether it flies in, whether it uses a limousine or whatever, a damn photo coming to the marketplace, we'll all say welcome on the day of listing by introduction. MTN is going to be the biggest company by market, and that's going to be a very big game changer and challenging to Dangote Cement, which currently is the market leader in terms of size.
Right.
Yes. Okay. Have a great day, Andy Sako. Let's leave that conversation for the future. And that future is just around tomorrow. Let's take care of backseat. Have a great day, everyone. Well, thank you for watching. I am Bosun Omofayi. Goodbye from Lagos.